here we go again. While you were probably spending the weekend with your friends and family, maybe doing some yard work or going to a baseball game or drinking a beer on a patio, these anti-Trump and really anti-everything folks descended on major cities across the U.S. over the weekend in what they called a hands-off protest. I'm not sure what that means exactly because by the looks of a good 90% of the attendees, I'd say they're pretty safe from most anyone wanting to put their hands anywhere on them ever, which brings me to the moral of the story here. It is for sure your right as an American to protest, and if this is how you get your kicks and your social interaction, then so be it. Knock yourselves out. And honestly, I'm glad some of these folks are finally motivated to exercise their bodies more so than their rights because they could use it. But at some point, I wonder if these bitter and angry folks realize they aren't really accomplishing anything at all. They call themselves the resistance and they hate Trump and Elon Musk and Doge and ICE and Border Patrol and tariffs and, well, everything. They're against everything, but what are they for? Exactly. They don't ever seem to have a solution, always just a problem or an issue or a gripe. And that's really the narrative of the entire Democrat left right now. We know they want to stop President Trump and his team from doing everything, but what is it they want to do? I don't think they know, actually. I haven't heard one policy position that would indicate they have a solution to anything. They offer nothing. It's kind of like when my husband throws out options for dinner and I shoot down every single one of his ideas, but I don't have a suggestion of my own. It's not helpful, but my dinner plans are inconsequential comparatively. These people out on the streets with their rage protests are supposed to be progressives, but they actually don't want to change anything at all. They're apparently fine with the status quo under Joe, where at least that's what all this resistance BS would suggest. Or maybe this kind of thing really is all they have to do and the only way they can interact with other human beings. Maybe it's both, and both options are actually really sad. Joining me now with his very unique perspective on it all is radio show host Tomi Sotomayor. Tomi, it's great to have you. First of all, thank you for being here. I want to talk about these hands-off protests, okay? So it reminds me of like the Me Too, the pink hat protests, the climate change protests, the drag queen protest, the pro-Hamas protest, the George Floyd protest. It feels like a lot of these people just enjoy protesting in the streets because I quite frankly think that either one, they're paid to do it, or two, they don't have anything else to do, but I'm wondering what your perspective is.
One, they are paid to do it, and two, they don't have anything else to do. I look at it as this group that's constantly searching to be a part of something else, to be consequential into the world, which lets you know that apparently it's really good to be an American, that you have all this free time, that you can protest, that you can go around and scratch people's Tesla, that you can go around and have as you stated so eloquently, many of them, nobody's putting their hands on them, but this is the most exercise they've had in years. You can see them in just some of the comments that I've heard them say. They're strange at best. And if you listen to most of them, have you noticed they're proud to be everything in the world but an American? They seem to hate America. They love everything about every other country, but they won't go. But they will tell you how bad America is. And this hands off is strange because they got their hands on everything. They had their hands on social media. They were telling everybody what they could and could not say. They got their hands on your opinion. And the biggest one is they seem to have their hands on your children, telling you that they can do what they want to do with your children. Have your children not tell you what it is that they're doing in school. And if they're deciding that they want to be girls or boys when they're boys and girls. So it's funny to hear this group say they want hands off when they spent the last 4 years with their hands on everything that Americans do.
And I honestly don't think they're out there protesting tariffs. I don't think a single one of these people could tell you what a tariff was. And the fact that they're going to get in the streets now, they're like, oh, look, it's Trump's fault. You put the tariffs in place. Now we're going to take to the streets. I think that's a pretty big stretch. I understand that people are worried about the tariffs. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand it. I understand people are worried about the stock market. There's a lot of people that are being affected by it. I trust the process. A lot of people don't. That's up to them to have their anxiety and their concerns about it. That to me is a worthwhile conversation. But going out into the streets and marching against Trump, Again, this doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what they're accomplishing. I don't think that they have anything better to do. But what I love is when they own themselves. So there was an individual, a rather rotund individual, who was at one of these protests, and she maybe admitted something that I hope Tom Homan was taking a listen to. Take a listen to this one.
My name is Grace Martinez Rosas. I am an immigrant. I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed.
So she mentioned she's in the country illegally. She is undocumented. But I love the point that you made earlier. I just want to touch on it and reiterate it because I think what you said is actually spot on. You heard her say, like, I'm undocumented, I'm queer, I'm Latina, she's all these things, but she doesn't say, like, I'm a proud American and I want what's best for my country. She's like, listen to all the things that I am. A little weird, though, to mention that you were here illegally in front of thousands of people and now going viral on social media. Do you think that she made that calculation?
Calling Tom Homan. It's literally saying, hey, I robbed the bank and I'm, everything else that I am. And I think that's what the left is pushing. Be everything but American. Be proud of everything but American. I had a family member walk into my office and saw the flag and said, what do you have that up for? And I was like, what? There are people in this country who don't like this country, who want to see this country fail. And the sad part about it is many of those people are elected officials. Jasmine Crockett. Those people want to see America fail. And when you have stuff like that happen, you then have people like her, Miss Rosa. She has no problem going out and telling the world, I did this, because she's daring you to move her, reminiscent of something that happened last week. She's daring you to touch her, put your hands on her. We don't respect America. We don't respect its authority. We don't respect its laws. We don't respect its people. And she was just a large mini fridge of a person that is the personification of that.
Yeah, and no gratitude at all for this country that she's apparently been living in and had no legal right to, but no appreciation for this country or this country's people whatsoever, which I think is pretty, as you mentioned, that's pretty much the narrative of most of those people that show up at those things. Very weird individuals. If you just look and you scan the crowd, I mean, it's not hard. It looks like mostly a sea of pale white women, a lot of them still wearing masks, that are very angry. And it's like, I think that you're more angry with your life than you are with the president or Elon Musk. I think that you hate yourself. And I think that you're out there with other people who hate themselves, because misery loves company. And that's how you interact with people, is you find other people who are also miserable. But that's just my take on it. I have a feeling that that's probably pretty close to the truth. Let's talk about the immigration stuff, though, because I want your perspective on this. There's been a lot of hoopla about they keep calling him the Maryland father, who was accidentally sent to the El Salvador prison. But the way that the mainstream media is directing this narrative, it's as if they just picked up this man who is a father in Maryland and they just took him to El Salvador. They don't mention the fact that he's an illegal alien. They don't mention the fact that it's actually a judge who said, hey, this is a gang member. So it was an administrative error, apparently, that they took him to El Salvador. I don't know the back and forth there. But now these other activist white liberal judges, who happen to be white liberal women, are like, you must bring him back. We want him here. A little strange. They're like, please, he was sent to El Salvador. We want this illegal alien back in our communities to rape and murder our daughters. By golly, weird.
Well, the funny thing about it is, and I'm glad you brought that up, because you got some talking to do. Those white liberal women are really causing a problem. They are out here without anything to do. Maybe they need some grass to cut or a garden to plant, but they don't have any of those things. So what they're trying to do is do like the young lady in Chicago and said, well, they're treating these blacks and they're treating these immigrants and they're treating these people wrong, and I want to protect them. Then what happens with the young lady in Chicago? Well, she ended up losing her life to one of those people she was trying to protect. Kind of reminds me of the grizzly man who loved the grizzly bears, and he was out there with him, and it took him and his wife. These types of liberals will not stop until what kind of death that they're putting on your doorstep, stops on theirs. When you hear them saying, oh, well, this guy, why did you send him there? Well, why did he come here? That should be the first question. If I send you to 19 different places that isn't where you're from, you should have been on my doorstep. I didn't make you come here. And that is the first law that was broken, but they make it seem like it's not a broken law when it happens. And again, this guy's got tattoos all over the place. He wasn't here working and building a shed and they took him. He wasn't here and he was just doing something great and getting a cat out of a tree. That's not what happened. But because that's what liberal white women need. They need something in their life. I don't know if it's the lack of a husband or the lack of a good husband, because if you've seen some of those liberal men, well, I can see why they probably out in the street looking for something to make them, to fulfill them at home. And it is sad to see that we have, again, elected officials, judges who are going against the American laws of the land and putting your children, my children, your family in harm's way simply to virtue signal to who? Because that's the question. Who are they virtue signaling to? Because those countries where they came from, they wouldn't accept the type of behavior that they're expecting Americans to accept. So it's weird to me.
It's weird to me too. We're going to talk about some more liberal white women in just a moment. But first, I just want the perspective from you. What does, and I know you don't speak for the Black community at large, but you speak for it more so than I do, obviously. What does the Black community, from your perspective, think of Elon Musk? Are they down with Elon Musk? Are they mistrustful of Elon Musk? Like, what is the general sentiment of Elon Musk? Because he's a different cat. He's a little weird. I think he's a genius, but he is a little weird. And I'm wondering, what is the perception of him in the urban community?
Well, first off, you got to understand Black people, and we can't be synonymous with urban, because I do not live in the urban area. I am as rural as possible. I'm a go to the NASCAR, NHRA, all that. So that ain't me. But I will tell you this. Black folks in general have a feeling until George Soros Jr., or the left comes and tell us we should think something completely different. Under Obama, well, Blacks weren't really down with the whole homosexuality, but because we have a Black guy president, he can run all that stuff and we won't say anything because we can't make him look bad. We used to be down with Donald Trump to the point of where we would say his name in every rap song possible. And to the left told us he was racist. So we're kind of very malleable. You can push us if you're a preacher, which is why they sent Al Sharpton out. If you're somebody on the left, if you're a Black woman, or if you're Soros and you got your hand up somebody's behind. Anyway, the way that they look at Elon Musk at this point is, well, if we did vote, and it's the ones who voted for Trump, if we voted for Trump, it's not a good look to look like someone else is running the show, because you voted for the strong man. You wanted the strong man in there. And I think a lot of Blacks were comfortable seeing Trump, but didn't know much about Elon Musk other than Tesla and X. So you didn't know him, and now you're seeing him, and he's going around wielding a chainsaw and doing a lot. Like you said, he's a weird cat. So I think a lot of Blacks are wondering who's running the country when they see this guy more than they see Trump. And a guy that's richer than Trump, from the Black perspective, we know the person with the most money is making the most rules. So we're kind of afraid of that, wondering what he's doing. And I don't know if the rest of America is thinking the same way, but you're trusting the process a bit, but you just wished you saw Donald Trump in the front of the process because that's who you voted for.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And I've actually heard that quite a bit. I think folks don't understand the role of Elon Musk. And if they don't take the time to listen and they don't dig in to what he and Doge are trying to do, it's easy to be like, okay, now who's this guy? I understand it. I think that if, they do a little more digging and they watch, like they had a great panel with Brett Baer a couple weeks back. I wish more people would watch that, where he explained, like, listen, there's people trying to take grandma and grandpa's Social Security and we're trying to stop them. I think that that's informative, but I understand that sometimes when you see this new figure who's not elected, I understand it. I wonder if they had a problem with Joe Biden, who, from these books coming out, needed fluorescent tape to know where to walk. But, that's a little bit of a different conversation.
Well, you got to understand, if you look at it from the other side, if George Soros was just standing there after Biden had gotten elected, you kind of would be a little concerned. You'd wonder, well, why is he here, and why is his thoughts, who I didn't vote for, mattered so much. So I wish that Donald Trump would probably do this. If he were to just come out and maybe explain more of what he's doing and still be the strong man in the explanation, I think a lot of people would say, okay, we know who's in charge. A lot of the reasons, the things that are coming out about Joe Biden is because, one, we stopped seeing him, and two, if the country was running, three, who was running it? So we're trying to figure out who was running it, which is something I think some people need to go to jail, but that's neither here nor there. But that's where it comes from. We want to see Donald Trump be the strong man.
Yeah, well, I think that, Donald Trump is taking his share of heat right now with the tariffs. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds of the tariff stuff. My perspective on it is this. I think that it had to be done at some point, and I think that very few presidents and leaders have the balls to actually do it because it does cause disruption, and nobody wants that on their hands. But I think it needed to be done, and I think Donald Trump has known for decades that it needed to be done, and he decided he was going to be the one to do it to set America on a better path. And now we're hearing 50-plus countries have already called the White House, hey, we want to make a deal. I think people, as he put out, and people don't like his Truth Social post, but as he's saying, like, listen, we have to be strong together, because if you guys will all have my back as a country, we can actually get the world to play ball. But when you guys are panicking and you're protesting and you're saying this is the worst thing and you're sticking up for the rest of the world at the expense of the United States, then it's not going to work. So I'm a little frustrated. I get it. The markets are going to react, but I think it's an overreaction. And I think that if we just stick this out, I think it's going to turn out well, but I don't know if we can get there because people are panicking, and there are a lot of people that want to see Donald Trump fail. But what is your perspective?
You need to be working at the White House press. That was beautiful what you just said, and it's true. It's this idea of, if they see weakness amongst the people, then they're not going to make the deal that, of course, he's trying to make. And his consistency is amazing. I saw him on Oprah. What was it, 1988? I don't know if you saw it. He spoke the exact same thing he's doing now. And then you listen to a lot of the liberals who stepped on the House floor, and they all spoke and echoed what he was saying back then. They all understand the power and the usage of tariffs. And now, simply because it's politically expedient for them to go against him and act like they don't even know what tariff was, like it was some girl they dated in college, now they want to act like it's just the craziest thing in the world. And you got to watch out, because tariff will slash your tires if you don't call her back. But it is something that can be used to put us in a place of strength, because other countries do it to us, we pay it, and now we're in a position of weakness, like how China has been able to do it to us. So I really appreciate the way that you put it out there a second ago, because it's for somebody who is a neophyte like me, can definitely understand it, and people need to stop getting behind other people's country. Imagine if I could just put it in a house situation, your family, your friends, and you get behind the person that they're getting ready to fight. You pick up their side of the fight instead of your own family members. We need to start looking at each other as Americans. We are a family. But when you got Miss Rosa able to come up there and tell you that I came to your country because I fled my country, which was crap, so apparently I left it willingly, and I come to yours and I sneak in. Imagine I turn around and somebody's upstairs in my kitchen telling me how proud they are to come from somewhere else, but they got kicked out of where they were, and they talking crap to me, saying we need some better bread in the house and some more deli meat. That's exactly what Miss Rosa is saying, and it's got to be one of the most irritating things in the world. And if we stood up as Americans and said, hold on a minute, ma'am, this is our country. Black, white, gay, trans, whatever you are, we're Americans. Then we'll see other countries start to fall in line.
It'd be nice to see that, but the hatred for Trump is so strong. And in some cases, just the hatred for America, because Donald Trump, for a lot of people, symbolizes America. And so they hate America. And it's a losing argument. But who knows? The folks that are rooting right now for the failure of this is really quite something to me. But I want to talk about another thing that really gets under my skin, and I'm wondering your perspective on it. So I went off on this last week, and I'm continuing to do it. In fact, I spent the weekend, I guess I'm a loser, I spent the weekend with this one House representative, right? I don't even care what her name is. She's so annoying to me. She's from Colorado, and she's been trying to vote remotely. And she uses her baby as a prop. Everywhere she goes, she's got the baby. She's a mama, okay? Love mamas. But she uses this baby as a prop. And her whole perspective and others that joined her was, hey, if you're a new parent in Congress, you should be able to vote from home or have someone else vote for you because you need to be home being a mom. This annoys me to no end, the entitlement of these individuals. But then I saw her, not kidding you, all weekend long, and she was posting it of herself on Meet the Press, Face the Nation, CBS, ABC, NPR, with Hakeem Jeffries, with News Nation, literally riding the circuit of press, talking about how she needs to vote from home. And so every time she posted something, I put weird. You had time to do press, but you don't have time to vote in person. Weird. But here's just one of her press appearances. Take a look at this.
Historically, it's been much more wealthy, older men who serve in Congress. This isn't designed for young families and for young women especially.
Congress was designed and built for old white men to represent themselves. And, we've made a lot of progress since then. We get into it because we're public servants and we care about representing our community. But there should be some accommodations for family things that come up, like the birth of a child.
It's not like I'm faking, to go party in Cabo, right? Like I'm actually trying to A, recover, but then B, also care for a newborn.
Our job is to represent people, and I'm a 35-year-old woman. All of my friends are going through this problem right now. That is representing people.
American people are not just single, older men with or without children.
I want to be able to represent my community, and I want to be able to have a family, and it shouldn't be so hard to figure out how to do both.
I have to laugh when I watch it, because if I don't laugh, Tomi, I will get so angry. I can't even, the fact that they're sitting there so entitled, like, but make accommodations for us, because other friends have this same problem, and guess what? They have to go to work, sweetie. It makes me so mad. And you know what? And this is my last thing I'm going to say. I'm going to let you go off. I think that as a working woman, this sets women back 50 years when you say, you elected me, but now I want special accommodations because I'm a mama. That, to me, just takes a giant crap on all the mamas that actually go to work and are able to do their jobs in a much more demanding environment than the members of Congress, who are literally paid to have twice as much vacation as the average American. I will stop now, but I want you to comment before I just get heated.
I was listening to you yet again, and I'm telling you, that's one of the reasons why I love listening to your show, because of that and the passion that comes along with it, because it's true. It's not fake passion, and it's not having passion about something that is inconsequential. As you stated, as a woman, and here's what hurts me the most. Having white women claim this minority status when they are the majority in the United States. There's no one with a bigger block than them. And yet they are somehow this large minority, this entitled minority. And I got to blame white men, because white men, you're the one who gave them the right to vote. White men, you're the one who told them that they could do anything better than you. White men, you're the one who started changing the television shows and making it to where the guy was stupid and the woman was smarter than him. And now what do you have? These women who have been fighting to get to these positions to now tell you they want to go home. I need to be home. I need to do this. You should have thought about this before you applied for the job. They tell men this all the time. They say, men, if you can't pay for all these children, you shouldn't have had them. They said, if you're not ready to lead, then you shouldn't have signed up for the job. Women are putting themselves in these positions, and these women have the ability to get hair extensions and Botox and lip injections is one of them. She looked like a Twizzler's lips, and she's just sitting there just upsetting me by saying how difficult her life is because of white men, the white men who put you in position to be able to do the things that you're currently doing. So they're crapping on the white men, the white grandfathers, the great grandfathers who did all this work to make sure that they were able to be treated as equal citizens in society today. And instead of being proud and thankful for that and saying that they're there to service their people, they then turn around and say, well, I'm here to have a family. I'm here to service my husband. Well, what does your husband do for his job? What do you do when you have, it's like the WNBA, your league is only 3 months long and you still say there needs to be some consideration about us having a baby? Well, yeah, you'll miss the whole season, but go right ahead. You shouldn't get paid, but go right ahead. We should treat them the same way we would treat any other career woman or career man. If you take your job seriously, you will perform your job. And when you can go around and do all these performative things on Meet the Press, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, and go everywhere and complain, but then when it's time for you to actually do the job of the people that voted for you and the people whose check you get, you turn around and you say, well, I got a baby and a family, so I'd like to do this from home. Well, why didn't you do that interview from home? It seemed like you were right there on set. So I'm with you on that. It's irritating, and it does make women look to a normal person. It makes them look weak, which is what you're trying to not do, is what I'm thinking. You're supposed to be just as strong as the men. Imagine Gavin Newsom saying that, and he switched wives and lives. He don't do that. He still shows up.
Well, I expect this from the liberal women. I don't expect this from Republicans, because to me, I agreed with it when people just laid it on thick on Pete Buttigieg for taking paternity leave during the supply chain crisis. And every Republican, oh my God, he should have been there. Why he's on paternity leave? He's chest feeding. Why is he not there? All this stuff. And then you turn around and say, but I want an accommodation because I have a newborn. Like, no, I'm sorry. You should have thought about that. And they're asking you to be there to vote. You can bring your baby with you. You can have a nanny. You're making double what most Americans are making. You can make accommodations. I don't feel sorry for you. So we'll move off of that. Let's move on now to another good one. Mark Cuban. Okay, let's talk about special treatment. So Mark Cuban did an interview. Some people are applauding him for it. I'm not, saying that, we aren't there yet on the trans athletes and you can't shove it down people's throats. I understand that, but I want to remind Mark Cuban we're never going to be there yet. But let's take a look.
My attitude is, if there's a trans athlete, no matter what side, you let the opponent, whether it's an individual sport or a team sport, you let them decide if they wanted to compete against them or not. If they feel they can win, if they feel it's not fair, it's up to them. But to make it just a national issue so that if you weren't supporting the fewer than 10 trans athletes in the NCAA, then you weren't a good person. People aren't ready for that yet. It takes time. You can't just force it down people's throat.
It takes time. Eventually we'll get there, Tommy. Eventually we'll be okay with biological men beating women at their sports and being in their locker rooms. We'll get there.
Listen, they said they're going to wear you down. They just said, if we don't work right now, we'll just keep on going. We're going to wear you down. And I hate when they're talking about trans athletes and then they say they're trying to push it down your throat. I'm childish, and so I laugh every time I hear it. But the point behind it is, listening to him and other people say this, I ask him this question. We're supposed to accept that Brittany Griner's a man. Brittany Griner says she's a man. He's a man. Why is Brittany Griner not asking to play in the NBA? Why is Brittany Griner not insulted by saying, well, put me in this women's league? I told you I'm not a woman, I'm a man, is what Brittany should say. But Brittany doesn't. As a matter of fact, when you hear all this stuff happening, I think I'm a little bit opposed to this than you. I think they need to let these trans athletes play in these women's sports. I think they need to let them dominate them so the women can actually appreciate what they have and not lose it to these liberal values. Because when the liberal values come in like this, they get destroyed. I think it's one woman, man, out-jumped these other women by like 8 feet. It was crazy. And so if you let her, the WNBA probably be exciting. You see some brothers in that dunking now. He think he a woman. It'd be more exciting. And then they'll start to realize that the white men in America have made it to where they have the ability to argue things and protest things that don't matter. Because when you hear him say, well, one day we're going to get there. Well, where are we getting? Are we getting to where we don't have women anymore, that the lesser men become the greater women? Because that's what you're doing when you have a society like this. The lesser men, the men who couldn't make the NBA, dominate the WNBA. The men who couldn't make the NFL, dominate the WNFL if they ever have one. Or whatever it is, you turn society upside down on its head. And you give men and boys an incentive to say, well, if I can't compete with other men, I'll just go compete with women. And to say I will make it be an individual thing, well, you need to explain to me then, how can somebody be a transsexual but can't be transracial? Why is it insulting for a white woman to wear a Afro wig, for a white woman to say, I feel black, I get along with blacks, but she's an insult to black people? She can't be transracial, but I, as a man, can be a woman. Women need to start standing up if they really care about women's values and what they are, and to say to value women. But why don't you start standing up for yourself and others that are women like you?
Yeah, and when it comes to the WNBA, like if they want to let the men compete against them, to me, like they've decided they want to go woke. They put the thing up for the Trans Visibility Day, like let them have it. My thing is for the young girls who are in high school, who are in college, who their opportunities are being taken away. Those are the ones I feel badly for, because they don't want to be in the midst of a woke argument. They're just trying to play sports in school and, you know, maybe get a scholarship or just have the discipline of competition. So those the people I really feel badly for. And
you know what's really,
go ahead.
I just want to say this. What's really sad is that they're ignoring that most of these young girls, I'd say 90% of them, they've all come out and said they do not want to play against these biological males. So it's people Mark Cuban's age. It's old liberals who keep saying, well, we want to give these people a choice. Well, these young people have made the choice. They're smarter than we are. They know this is inappropriate and they know this is unfair and they don't want to play against them. So the only reason that they're still playing is because us as adults say you have to put up with this when they know they don't want to. And I want to appreciate all the young girls who have currently been sitting it out. The young lady who was fencing, she took a knee. Kudos to you, youth, because you are smarter than we are today.
Yeah. It takes a lot of courage to do that too. So good for them, the ones that are willing to do it. And they make a huge sacrifice when they do it too. Last thing I want to talk to you about, and I'm going to do my whole final thoughts on it, but very interested in your perspective on the whole Austin Metcalf, Carmelo Anthony situation, the stabbing death in Frisco, Texas at the track meet over the dispute. This has become racial, and Austin Metcalf's family, of course, has a GoFundMe. He was stabbed to death. But also there is a GoFundMe that's almost, I think, at $200,000 at this point for the kid who allegedly, though admittedly, stabbed him. And I keep seeing it all over my X feed of people being like, you know, the people need to come together and support Carmelo Anthony. And, you know, he's been wronged. And I'm like, this feels wild to me. I'm not surprised it went racial. But what's your perspective?
One of the big pro-black guys out there, I don't want to say his name, he put a post out and he said, suspected white supremacist, speaking about the Metcalf kid. Now, imagine if you're the father and the mother and you have to read that not only did you lose your child, but now they're saying your child deserved it because your child was a white supremacist. And you can't say anything back because if you argue, get mad, or yell and scream, then you've just confirmed that your child was a white supremacist and they deserved it. But it's funny that the same people on the left or the black side, they say it doesn't matter if my child was a thief. It doesn't matter if my child was had assaulted people. They didn't deserve to die. They didn't deserve to die is what they always say about everybody who this happened to. But now they're saying this is get back. This is get back for all of the injustices that blacks have been through. Now, again, you can imagine if you were white, if you'd like. Imagine if you were sitting there and you say, well, I have children and my children get to hang out and play with them and I don't have a problem. But what happens when they see my child as you deserve it for what these slights I never experienced happened? You ask the average black person, how racist is America and what has America done to you? The most they can tell you is what somebody told them happened in the past. When you see this story is sad because this boy admitted what he did, admitted that he brought a knife to school. And whether he was being told, get out or whatever it is, I'm an old man and I came from a time in which you fought, if that was just the case. But you don't pull out a knife or you don't conceal a knife and tell somebody, put your hands on me and see what happens next. Stab them and become the victim. I was told that was a punk move, and it is a punk move. And the fact that blacks are saying we're going to make this racial and we're going to show that we support this black kid. If I was white and I was watching this, I promise you I'd say, for as much as I want people to feel comfortable and to feel loved in America, I no longer feel comfortable and feel loved in America. I don't feel my children are safe when something like this happens and you side with the perpetrator. And lastly, they tried to compare it to Daniel Penny, and they tried to compare it to Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse did this thing called run. Kyle Rittenhouse didn't conceal that he had a weapon on him, and then he still ran. He told him to get back. One of the people he shot had a gun in his hand. So it was obvious that he tried to retreat and two was being pursued. None of these were elements that happened here. This kid could have easily went to the other tents that was there. He was there with the intent to antagonize. And what whites should start thinking is, so we and our children can be antagonized and murdered in the streets. And the reasoning for it happening and everybody understanding it is something that happened 20 years ago, 100 years ago, or whenever it happened. It's an insult to see the money roll in and it all be because of race. If it was because you thought he was innocent, I understand. But when you say the white kid deserved it and all you can think of is because he was white, you got a problem in America. And I'm sorry to go there, but you just got a problem in America with that.
I was really stunned. And then people making up false narratives that, something else happened or this or that. And it's really sad. And I honestly feel for both families. And I actually feel for this Carmelo Anthony kid because something has to be wrong. If you go from a fight over a seating arrangement in a tent to stabbing somebody, something's wrong there. I feel badly for you because something's going on in your life or in your mind that is toxic and bad. And I obviously feel for the Metcalf family who now doesn't have a son because of a dispute over a seat. And the fact that young people are moving so quickly to violence of where like, oh, we had a fight, we had an argument, so I'm going to stab you or shoot you. I mean, it's like, I don't understand how we got there, but we need to do an evaluation of how we got there. And this online debate over race when there's a kid that's now dead over a dispute over a tent is beyond belief, but sadly also not beyond belief. I guess that's where we still are.
I would like to just say one more thing. You're asking how we got here. I want to tell y'all the concerning part here. And this is from a black person that hears black people talk and has been black half of it. The other half I changed a little bit. But I want you to hear me and please listen. Where they're getting it from is if you look at the attention that Mr. Anthony is getting right now for what he did, he struck a blow for blacks. What do you think goes in the mind of the average black kid who may feel like they're not getting attention at home, they're neglected at school, and they're not popular? What do you think they're thinking if they see this type of money rolling in and this type of attention and love? They're going to want that type of attention and love too. And your child is now at risk. It is the same reason why during the baseball game, they stopped showing the guys who ran out on the field. Why did they stop doing it? Because every time one did it, another one wanted to do it because they wanted to be on national television too. You're making over and over young kids who are lost and just want to feel accepted, to feel like one of the reasons that ways they can be accepted as a black kid is to strike a blow for blacks against the white. That's the part that scares me.
That's very insightful, and it's really sad. And I hope that society can change. It doesn't feel too optimistic, but I appreciate your perspective on that and on everything. We had a lot of great, wonderful discussions ranging from tariffs all the way to this. So I appreciate it as always. Tomi, you're always unfiltered and uncensored. Thanks for being here, and I hope to have you back soon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, folks, going right off that, my thoughts. The teen accused of stabbing football star Austin Metcalf to death at a track meet in Texas now claims it was self-defense because I guess it's totally normal to tote a knife to a high school track meet, just in case. I have some final thoughts. So you've heard of the tragic death of teen football star Austin Metcalf. He was stabbed to death last week at a high school track meet in Frisco, Texas, allegedly over a seating dispute. He died in his twin brother's arms. Now, the teen who allegedly, though admittedly, stabbed him to death is Carmelo Anthony, a teen from another school who was allegedly asked to leave a tent or a seating area when the spat ensued. Now, first of all, I'd like you to take note of how the media covered this, because shockingly, in this case, the race of the alleged attacker and the race of the victim were left out. Weird. But even so, it didn't take long for this to become all about race and not in the way you'd assume. Some internet experts are now deeming the Metcalf brothers to be the aggressors and even white supremacists, though there is no evidence to corroborate that. Interesting that Tariq chose those photos of the three teens, given the photos of Carmelo Anthony posted of himself prior to the incident. There's also been a GoFundMe established for Anthony, the accused killer. But internet trolls aside, the lawyer for Carmelo Anthony, as well as Anthony's father, are now claiming the whole thing can be chalked up to self-defense. Huh? No kidding. Hold up. I wasn't there, so I don't know what happened, but basic logic tells me stabbing another teen in the heart at a track meet in self-defense sounds like an incredible stretch, like a light year stretch. Even if the Metcalf twins wrongfully kicked Anthony out of a tent, even if they did it aggressively, that's a pretty big jump from that to stabbing in self-defense. Teens get into stupid and petty arguments all the time. At times, they can even get physical. But again, there's a pretty big jump from a teen spat to pulling out a knife and stabbing someone to death. And how the frick does anyone justify bringing a knife to a high school track meet? Like, oh, let me grab a water bottle, some chapstick, and my trusty knife just in case I need to fillet a classmate later. This is an insane and tragic situation, and I truly pray for everyone involved. But the internet spinning this into Carmelo Anthony being the true victim here is some really wild reality gymnastics. And those are my final thoughts. Please be sure to tune in live tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. Catch full episodes of the show on outkick.com and Fox Nation whenever you like. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.